Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. The top stories this hour. Makurdi gears up for President Tinubu's condolence visit over Yelwata massacre. INEC rejects PDP's notice for National Executive Committee meeting over non-compliance with electoral guidelines. Away from Nigeria, Guinea's junta leader visits Côte d'Ivoire in a bid to promote regional stability. We begin the news from Makurdi, the Benue State capital, where President Bola Tinubu is expected to pay a condolence visit following a series of violent attacks that have claimed numerous lives. Now, the Benue State Government has declared the day a public holiday to enable residents to welcome the president and his delegation, although essential services workers such as medical personnel, security agencies and bankers are exempted. The visit, described as significant and symbolic, aims to commiserate with the government and people of Benue and encourage unity amidst the recent tragedies. He urged the people of the state to manage their diversity, anger and frustration and live as one united people. President Tinubu is expected to meet with all stakeholders, including traditional rulers, political, religious, community leaders, and youth groups to seek lasting solutions to the hostilities. Makurdi, the Benue State capital, is wearing a new look ahead of President Bola Tinubu's visit. Security operatives have taken positions across major streets as part of heightened preparations for the president's arrival. The state government has also mounted several banners bearing welcome messages to receive the president. For more on the president's visit, our correspondent Joshua Marai is in Makurdi. He joins us live now. Welcome, Joshua. What updates do you have for us? All right, we will try to reconnect with Joshua. And now we turn to how the people of Benue are responding to the visit of Mr. President. The president, Arab Development Association, who also is a former chairman, Gwere West and Kwande local government area of Benue State, Dr. Uto Tortiv, joins me now to speak on this. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Doctor. Let's start with your assessment of the people's response to the president's visit.
It's like there's no communication for now, madam. Can I hear you better?
We sincerely apologize for that. We seem to be having a connection issues, but we will try to reconnect with both of them. Meanwhile, the upper legislative chamber of the National Assembly have expressed deep concern over the Benue massacre, noting that Nigerians are tired of mourning. Although the Nigerian Senate is currently on recess, legislative activities continued on Tuesday, June 17, as lawmakers convened for various committee sessions in Abuja. The day's engagements focused on developments in Rivers State, legislative work on the composition of the Southwest Development Commission, and the worsening state of insecurity in Benue State. News Central correspondent Saigir Ibrahim has more.
Meeting of the Senate Committee on the Southwest Development Commission. This follows President Bola Tinubu's assent to the bill establishing the commission, which was earlier passed by both chambers of the National Assembly. The committee is expected to commence the screening of nominees for the commission's management and governing board in the coming days.
Our vision is to provide adequate oversight functions for the good governance of the Commission to harness the vast potentials of the Southwest region. There will be screening exercise for chairman, MD, and other members of the board.
What is important is that we must appreciate that the expectations of people are very high. I'm looking at these commissions as a kind of stopgap and backup, not only to the states, but also as a plank of support for the federal government, who everybody knows is blamed for each and everything that is not done right.
Shortly after, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Rivers Oversight met to screen nominees for the positions of chairman and members of the Rivers State Civil Service Commission and the Independent Electoral Commission. However, the session was not without controversy.
The nominee for the position of chairman of State Independent Electoral Commission in Rivers is from Cross River. We need clarification on that.
I'm not from Rivers State, so I don't know anybody that is going to influence me to do anything otherwise. So I'm going to remain neutral and impartial.
Even if there's nothing in the law saying you cannot appoint from outside of the state, we still need to look at it to be sure that it's not something that would be repugnant to public conscience.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby move that the name of one of the nominees, Mr. Professor Geoffrey Nwoke, be stepped down as a result of the inconsistency until clarified.
I think what is fair is we go ahead with his confirmation subject to that clarification, as opposed to stepping down the confirmation.
The day's proceedings concluded with a media briefing by Senate spokesman Yemi Adaramodu, who addressed several national issues, including the recent attacks in Benue State.
We'll be going together to Benue, that will be going to Benue State tomorrow to meet with critical stakeholders, at the same time commiserate with our people there. In Nigeria, we are even tired of paying condolence visits. We must put a stop to it. Today, Plateau, tomorrow, Benue. The other day, Bono. We must find a way of putting a stop to it.
Although plenary is scheduled to resume on June 24, lawmakers say they remain committed to fulfilling critical legislative responsibilities during the recess. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
And let's go back to Benue State, where we have been able to reconnect with our correspondent, Joshua Imaraye. Hi, Joshua. Thank you for joining. Can you go ahead and give us updates?
Well, good afternoon to you, Dashen. It is a raining afternoon here. It's still drizzling lightly as we are expecting the arrival of the president anytime from now. As you can see, there are a strategic positioning of security officials around here, and they are still waiting for the president. Earlier, the convoy of the governor made its way to the airport base where the president is expected to touch down. So we are expecting them to usher in the president in like manner. So this is what we are seeing. Earlier on, we saw some school children who have been strategically positioned under the drizzling weather, and it has been raining. Several cars passing by them are splashing the water on them, but unfortunately, they are still positioned under the drizzling rain, awaiting the president.
All right, Joshua, what is the excitement like for the people of Benue State?
Well, the people of Benue are expecting the president to actually give a solution, lasting solution to the challenges faced the residents of this area are facing. Well, they are expectant that the president will bring in so much on the table due to the abundant intelligence they have to address this particular situation of their persons being killed daily by herdsmen.
Okay, what about the governor? What is he actually saying about the whole development, the whole issue that's happening in Benue State, and will they be able to find lasting solutions soon?
Well, the governor has paid several visits to Yelwata, the particular place affected by this incident, and he is urging for calm. Earlier on, he made a series of statements saying he doesn't want any form of self-defense, that it is the responsibility of the governor, of the government, to secure the lives and properties of those who have been affected by this disastrous incident. So he's actually urging them to stay calm while they receive the president, and looking forward to any further action that the president will take, and possibly the dialogue and reconciliation that the president preached in his message. So that is what we are seeing here in Benue State.
Okay, but prior to the president's visit, Joshua, have security agencies or troops, moved to those affected areas where the destructions happened? Hello, Joshua, can you hear me?
I think that's quite
What you say particularly, there are troops, troops have arrived, the communities that have been destroyed. Are there troops there at the moment to protect the lives of those who are still there?
Well, I can confirm to you that they've positioned security men and security teams, tactical teams across that area in Yelwata. So they've organized a much heavy security presence in that area to ensure that a reoccurrence of that particular event does not happen. Meanwhile, those persons are yet to receive any kind of form of aid to address these challenges they've seen. One thing we know is that most of them has fled from their home, and most of them couldn't stay in that particular place. So we are expecting that the government also puts appropriate solutions and arrangements to ensure that these people get the aid they need. Because in times like this, the first thing that comes is rescue. After rescue efforts, humanitarian efforts swoop in. But however, the people have not felt the touch of humanitarian response, so they are expecting that the government will do the needful.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. The news returns after the break. Stay with us. Well, we sincerely apologize for the extended break, but now the news continues. And to some politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has rejected the People's Democratic Party's notice for its 100th National Executive Committee meeting, citing non-compliance with electoral guidelines. The meeting, scheduled for June 30th, 2025 at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja, was flagged for failing to meet procedural guidelines. Our copies of both letters exchanged between the PDP and the INEC are already in public circulation. The rejection raises questions about the PDP's internal governance, particularly as the party prepares for the critical NEC meeting that could shape its strategy and future direction. The PDP is yet to issue a formal response to INEC's rejection or clarify whether it will rectify the error and resubmit the notice. President Bola Tinubu has flagged off the construction of a new headquarters for the Independent National Electoral Commission. The event took place in Abuja after the president also commissioned a new ultra-modern bus terminal at Mabushi within the city center. News Central correspondent Sumaya Abubakar reports.
Located in the Mabushi district of Abuja, the newly completed terminal is part of efforts to bring structure and coordination to transportation within the city center. Equipped with loading bays, lodges, ticketing booths, and surveillance systems, it is designed to address safety concerns and improve commuter experience. Authorities say it is also key to discouraging unregulated pickups and reducing the incidence of taxi-related crime known as one chance within the FCT.
The choice of the places where such terminals are to be constructed are influenced by strategic location, commercial viability, and the need to boost economic growth and inclusive development.
It will enhance the lives of our teeming youth by creating job opportunities for them. It will also reduce the traffic congestion in the city.
In terms of security, we're trying to reduce the level of motor parks on the road. We're trying to eliminate this so-called one chance. Here, those who are drivers, so that the vehicle you are boarding to go to the other place.
With the completion of the Mabushi bus terminal and the Kubo terminal, which I've been informed is also ready for commissioning, we are taking decisive steps to bring order, accountability, and safety to public transportation.
Meanwhile, across the town, a groundbreaking for the new INEC national headquarters was also held. The planned facility is expected to centralize electoral operations, improve data security, and enhance coordination in future elections. INEC Chair Professor Mahmoud Yakubu described the project as a critical step towards upgrading the Commission's institutional capacity.
This is a very, very special occasion. After almost 10 years of persistent effort, the construction of the INEC Annex building is finally a reality.
And I want to assure you that this structure will be given all the time it required to see that during your first tenure, this project is completed.
Today's ceremony is not merely about bricks and mortar. It is about the strength of our democracy, the independence of our institutions, and the future of our electoral integrity.
From transport terminals to electoral institutions, the FCT is undergoing infrastructure changes with broader national impact. The Mabushi terminal and the planned INEC headquarters highlight current efforts to improve public safety, service delivery, and urban coordination. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Well, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for Prime Minister's Questions, the weekly political showdown in the UK's House of Commons. And today, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer faces off against the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, tackling the biggest issues of the week, including the call for a national inquiry into grooming gangs and the rise in inflation announced today. I expect tough questions, fiery exchanges, and no shortage of political drama.
Can the Deputy Prime Minister also reassure our community that alongside the Hillsborough law, the government will consider some independent oversight so that victims from the Post Office to Hillsborough to Grenfell know inquiry recommendations will actually lead to real change?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I thank my honourable friend. The Grenfell fire was a national tragedy, and we must never forget the 72 lives that were lost, and it was an honour to pay my respects at the 8th anniversary at the weekend. We do remain fully committed to introducing the Hillsborough law, including a legal duty of candour for public services and criminal sanctions for those who refuse to comply. I know my honourable friend speaks with passion and authority on this. As I speak to the Grenfell community, I know this is something that they really want to see happen as quickly as possible, and we're exploring reforms to inquiries to get to the truth more quickly and deliver the meaningful change that these victims deserve.
Thank you. Bishop Challoner School has been helping to educate Bromley pupils for nearly 75 years. But it will close its doors in July due to Labour's decision to impose VAT on independent schools. Given the Deputy Prime Minister's well-publicised views on independent schools, does she welcome this closure, or would she like to apologise to the parents, pupils and staff?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've said for a long time that the taxpayers of this country shouldn't be subsidising tax breaks for private schools. I welcome all schools that give children a great education, but I'm also determined to ensure we've got qualified teachers in every classroom for every child, something their government failed to do.
Alan Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a trained physics teacher and a former engineering lecturer, can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister what this government is doing to help people improve their maths skills after they have left school? I came across an awful case the other day. A 61-year-old man who believed he'd counted up 7 billion of government spending when there was really only 27 million. What can we do for people like the leader of Reform UK, who evidently can't add up?
My honourable friend highlights an important fact. Reform sums simply don't add up. He'll be pleased to know that we're investing £136 million for skills boot camps, and I will be sure to send the details to the honourable member for Clapton.
That completes Deputy Prime Minister's questions. We'll let the front bench change over.
Well, we'll now go live to our international correspondent, Afia Hagan, who would give us an update on what happened during the minister's questions. Afia, over to you.
Somewhat different looking Prime Minister's questions this week because Keir Starmer is still on his way back from the G7 summit in Canada. So you had Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner with Chris Philip, who is the Shadow Home Secretary, facing off against each other. Angela Rayner started off by sending condolences to those affected by the Air India plane crash, as well as paying tribute to Jo Cox. She was an MP that was killed 9 years ago, and David Amos, another MP who was killed also. And then the questions were really about the grooming gangs inquiry. Now, this has been a scandal that has rocked the UK. Grooming gangs of men that are predominantly of Southeast Asian heritage, although not totally, grooming young girls and young boys, and sexual violence committed against these young girls and young boys. There is going to be inquiry held into how this was allowed to happen and compensation for the victims. So a lot of questions about that today. Also questions about Grenfell. That was a terrible fire that took place in a high-rise building 8 years ago. We commemorated 8 years since the Grenfell tragedy this month, and questions asked about compensation for survivors of that tragedy and what also can be done to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that update, Afia. Well, coming up, Guinea's junta leader meets Côte d'Ivoire's president in a bid to promote regional stability. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Away from Nigeria, Guinea's junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya has made his first official visit to Ivory Coast since seizing power in a coup in September 2021. At the meeting with President Alassane Ouattara at the Presidential Palace in Abidjan focused on strengthening bilateral relations and promoting political stability as a foundation for sustainable development. President Ouattara expressed hopes for peaceful elections in Guinea, mirroring Ivory Coast's own plans for presidential polls in October, where he may seek a fourth term. The visit underscores efforts to reinforce cooperation and solidarity between the two West African nations.
Monsieur le Président, chers frères, nous venons d'avoir un entretien approfondi qui nous a permis d'aborder des sujets d'intérêt commun, notamment les relations économiques bilatérales et la situation sécuritaire dans nos pays et dans la sous-région. Nous avons aussi échangé sur la situation politique dans nos deux pays. Depuis plusieurs mois, la Guinée traverse une étape cruciale de son histoire. La Côte d'Ivoire suit évidemment avec un grand intérêt cette évolution, ainsi que pour les efforts déployés pour retrouver la normalité constitutionnelle.
Excellence, Monsieur le Président, chers grands frères, c'est un immense honneur pour moi d'effectuer cette visite en terre africaine de Côte d'Ivoire. Symbole de force, de résilience et de beauté. Une terre qui, sous votre leadership, Monsieur le Président, s'est affirmée comme un modèle de progrès, de stabilité et de vision pour notre continent. Depuis notre première rencontre à Conakry, Monsieur le Président, j'ai été marqué par votre humilité et le respect que vous avez vis-à-vis du peuple de Guinée.
In other news from around the world, French President Emmanuel Macron has emphasized the importance of U.S. involvement in resolving tensions between Iran and Israel. President Macron says American leadership is crucial in bringing all parties back to the negotiating table. While speaking during the G7 summit in Canada, Macron underscored the need for diplomatic engagement and international cooperation to ease escalating conflicts in the Middle East. Despite recent remarks by former U.S. President Donald Trump criticizing his approach, Macron dismissed the comments and remained focused on broader diplomatic goals. Now, the summit highlighted ongoing international concerns over rising instability in the Middle East.
Traditionnellement, le cessez-le-feu, comme vous dites, c'était surtout le président Trump qui l'évoquait hier. Et vos collègues, d'ailleurs, qui l'ont interviewé comme CNN, l'ont écrit. Et quand le président Trump dit « je dois rentrer parce qu'il y a des discussions en cours, on va parler et il faut parler », ça s'appelle des discussions généralement pour cesser le feu, comme une péripétie. Ce n'est pas les premières, ce ne sont pas les dernières. Il a des mots extrêmement amicaux, mais il a voulu remettre de l'ambiguïté dans sa position. Très bien, il a donc dit qu'il n'allait pas discuter un cessez-le-feu. Bon. Ça ne m'émeut pas. Bonjour messieurs, dames. Vous allez bien?
In business, South Africa, tensions are rising at the state-owned defense and aerospace company Denel as frustrated workers take their demands to the streets. Now, workers from Denel have begun a picket outside the company's offices in Irene Centurion, demanding long overdue wage increases. Now, employees say they have gone 5 financial years without any salary adjustments. National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa's spokesperson shared some updates on the situation.
Members of the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa are picketing outside the offices of Denel in Centurion. Their demands are simple. Our members are demanding that the board of Denel must implement an increase which has long been promised to workers. For 5 financial years, workers at Denel have not received a single increase. Finally, earlier in the year, the executives offered workers a 7% increase. However, that increase was withdrawn by the board of Denel. The NUMSA leadership will be meeting with members of the board today in order to try and negotiate this impasse. Meanwhile, our members have vowed to continue picketing for the duration of that meeting.
Starting Wednesday, June 18, 2025, mobile subscribers in Nigeria will begin paying for USSD services directly from their airtime as telecom operators implement the end-user billing model. Now, this follows a directive by the Nigerian Communications Commission developed in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria and other stakeholders. The Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, confirmed the change, overriding earlier bank notifications of a June 3rd start date. Now, the shift to EUB is part of the NCC's determination on USSD pricing aimed at clarifying payment responsibilities and improving service delivery for mobile financial transactions across Nigeria. In the world of sports, the body of late Nigerian boxer Segun Olarewaju arrived in Lagos from Ghana and was received at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport by key figures from both Nigeria and Ghana. Present at the airport were Nigerian Boxing Board of Control President Rafiu Ladipo and Ghana Supporters Union President Abraham Boakye and the family of the deceased. Also in attendance were Ghana Boxing Authority representatives, board member Gideon Hassan Apia and coach Latekwe Lati. In a show of solidarity, the GBA presented $3,000 to Olarewaju's family, $1,500 donated directly by the GBA, and another $1,500 from boxing promoter Gordon Frimpong, also known as Osibo. Still talking sports, the Nigeria Premier Football League is actively seeking sponsors to bring video assistant referee technology to the Nigerian top flight. Our league chairman, Benga Elegbeleye, announced the initiative during an end-of-season media gathering in Abuja, saying that the league is ready to implement VAR but needs financial backing from the expensive equipment. Let's go back to Benue State, where we are being told that the president's plane has actually landed and it's finding its way into the city of Makurdi. We have our correspondent Joshua Imarai on standby to give us an update. Hello, Joshua. If you can hear me, please go ahead and tell us. Has the president's convoy passed or come into Makurdi yet?
Yes, particularly the president touched down the Air Force Base. A series of vehicles just passed, military police vehicles just passed. And as you can see, there is a very, very huge crowd here awaiting the president. On my left-hand side are school children on standby who are ready to welcome the president, waving the Nigerian flag as they await the arrival of the president. Few minutes before now, some military police vehicles actually led the way, trying to clear any obstruction on the road. And as you can see, there are several security persons also here on standby, seeing that there is no breakdown of law and order. Earlier on, we saw the military police vehicle, and it signals the arrival of the president, and we are still expectant to see more security convoy apply this particular route also.
Okay, you talked about, the number of crowds, the amount of crowds there. What can you tell us? Are there tensions within the crowd, or is it calm?
Well, we have a packed crowd here, and they are so much. On my right-hand side are some of them awaiting the president, as you can see. The cameraman will actually show you that there's an incoming convoy on the way, and they are trying to clear any obstruction. You can see right from what you can see from the field right here. You can see that is the convoy of the governor, with his plate number covered, and that is an Air Force vehicle also coming from afar. A series of vehicles also approaching this particular lane. This road actually leads to the government house, the state government house, and you can see they are all in full swing, taking their way to the government house.
So it is safe to say that the president has officially arrived at Makurdi, Benue State.
Yes, particularly.
All right, well, thank you so much, Joshua, for that update. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Makurdi is gearing up for President Tinubu's condolence visit over Yelwata massacre. We also told you that INEC rejects PDP's notice for National Executive Committee meeting over non-compliance with electoral guidelines. And finally, you heard that Guinea's junta leader visited Côte d'Ivoire in a bid to promote regional stability. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do you follow us on social media? We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.